The Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. Hundreds of representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations filled the enormous chamber, each one more alien than the last. Some had shimmering translucent skin, some floated in the air without legs, and others had multiple limbs and eyes that spun slowly like satellites. They had gathered to discuss the latest report from the outer sectors. A report that had caused a mixture of laughter, disbelief, and, for a few, a creeping sense of unease. The report spoke of a small blue planet, almost unnoticed on the galactic maps. Called Earth, its inhabitants, humans, were primitive. They had barely left their home system, and had technology that would be considered laughably outdated by any other major civilization. Yet, according to the scout ships, these humans were thriving. They had managed to survive wars among themselves, had built massive cities, and were beginning to explore space, albeit clumsily. Zykar, a brash general from the warrior planet Korthus, could barely contain his excitement as he presented his plan. "It is simple," he declared, his voice booming through the chamber's vast acoustics. "We will invade this Earth. Their weapons are weak, their defenses almost non-existent. It will be an easy victory. Their planet, their resources, everything will belong to us in a matter of weeks." The council erupted in laughter. A floating representative from the aquatic world of Latrine shook its tendrils. "You are serious?" it asked, its voice bubbling like water. "You wish to attack a planet barely more dangerous than a sandstorm? Do you not understand human history? They have survived far worse than any alien invasion you can imagine." Zykar waved a dismissive hand. "History is irrelevant. Their primitive fleets could not reach even the edges of space. Their strongest weapons are stones compared to our plasma cannons and ion beams. We will crush them." Another member, a crystalline being from the high-gravity planet Soren, chimed in with a note of caution. "You underestimate humans because you judge them by their current technology. That is a dangerous arrogance. Humans are unpredictable. They have ways of surviving and adapting that even we cannot fully calculate." Zykar sneered. "Unpredictable? I call it weak. They are simple creatures too focused on their survival to pose any real threat. Trust me, council members, this is a foolproof plan." For hours the council debated. Some, like Zykar, were eager for conquest, seeing a chance for glory and spoils. Others warned against arrogance, citing ancient records of civilizations that underestimated small but clever species and had paid the price. But in the end, the council voted to delay any formal action. Zykar, frustrated but undeterred, decided to act on his own. He would assemble a fleet, secretly, and prove that humans were nothing more than easy prey. Meanwhile, back on Earth, life continued mostly unaware of the danger approaching. Cities bustled with people going about their daily routines. Children ran through parks, laughing and playing. Scientists and engineers worked in laboratories, unaware that their projects could soon be critical to the planet's survival. Ordinary humans faced ordinary challenges, traffic, work deadlines, arguments about sports, but there was something quietly remarkable about them. The scouts who had returned from observing Earth noted this. Humans were resilient, adaptable, and surprisingly creative. When faced with problems, they found ways to solve them that no alien algorithm could predict. One scout had spent days studying human conflict, expecting to find chaos and weakness. Instead, it found strategies born from desperation, ingenuity, and cooperation. Humans worked together in ways that were messy but effective. Zykar ignored these warnings. His fleet of sleek, deadly ships assembled in secret near the edge of the solar system. Each ship was armed with weapons designed to obliterate planets, shields strong enough to resist any known human projectile, and fleets of drones to crush human defenses. Zykar spent hours studying Earth's defenses, or what he assumed were defenses, and laughed at how feeble they seemed. "A single strike," he said to his officers, "and this world will be ours." Back on Earth, the first signs of unusual activity went unnoticed. Satellites captured strange objects in orbit, but they were dismissed as space debris or technical errors. Amateur astronomers noticed unusual movements in the sky, but their warnings went largely ignored. Humanity was not aware that an armada of alien warships was moving silently toward their planet, carried by engines that far surpassed anything humans had yet imagined. In the council chambers, a few members watched Zykar's actions with concern. "He will fail," said a tall insectoid diplomat, its mandibles clicking nervously. "Humans are nothing like any other species we have faced. Underestimate them and it will be catastrophic." But no one could convince Zykar. His mind was fixed on victory, on the glory of conquering a new world. "They are weak," he insisted. "They will fall. And when they do, the galaxy will know the might of Korthus." As the fleet approached Earth, humans began to notice subtle signs of unusual activity. Communication satellites experienced brief disruptions. Astronomers reported objects that moved strangely across the sky. Military analysts began running simulations, though most considered the anomalies minor and unimportant. Still, there were a few humans who felt something was wrong, a nagging sense of danger that could not be ignored. One of these humans, Commander Elena Martinez of the International Space Exploration Agency, studied the orbital anomalies carefully. She had spent years preparing for the possibility of contact with extraterrestrial life, though she had never imagined it would come in the form of an invasion. Her team ran calculations, tracking the objects, and what they discovered stunned them. There was no natural explanation. Something, or someone, was approaching Earth at incredible speed, and it was intelligent. Meanwhile, Zykar's fleet moved closer. The ships shimmered in the void of space, massive and menacing. Drones patrolled the edges, ready to strike at any sign of resistance. Zykar could almost taste the victory. "Soon," he muttered, "soon we will crush this primitive world." But the humans, despite being unaware of the scale of the threat, had a hidden strength. Their ingenuity, their ability to adapt and improvise was unmatched. Simple tools could become weapons. Ordinary objects could be used in extraordinary ways. This was a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that had torn their own world apart. They were not strong individually, but together, they were clever, creative, and stubbornly alive. In the council chambers, some of the elder members shook their heads. "He does not understand," said one, its voice low and serious. "This is not a species you can conquer with firepower alone. They think differently. They fight differently. They survive differently. You cannot predict humans." Zykar ignored the warnings. He had planned every detail, from orbital strikes to ground bombardments. Yet even as he plotted, there was a tiny, almost imperceptible feeling of unease. Deep down, he knew humans were different. They were small, fragile, and unpredictable, but there was a spark in them, a spark that no one in the galaxy could fully explain. The first contact was about to happen, though neither side knew exactly how it would unfold. Humans would face the greatest challenge of their existence, but they would face it in their own way, using brains where others relied on weapons, and courage where others relied on strength. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake not just Earth, but the minds of every alien who thought they understood the universe. As Zykar's fleet moved silently through the darkness of space, the Council could only watch and wonder. Could such a small, insignificant planet really withstand the might of a full alien armada? Could humans, so seemingly fragile and primitive, truly surprise the galaxy? Some of the Council whispered to one another, unsure whether to warn Zykar or simply observe. One thing was certain. Humans were about to show the galaxy something no one had expected, and for the first time in his life, Zykar felt a small flicker of doubt. But doubt was a dangerous feeling for a general, and he quickly shoved it aside. "Focus on victory," he commanded his officers. "Nothing else matters. Earth will fall." And yet, even as he spoke, the first seeds of human ingenuity began to stir. On Earth, a team of engineers and scientists noticed the anomalies in the sky and began making plans. They did not know the full scale of the threat, but they did know one thing: they would not go quietly. The humans were ready, in their own quiet, clever way. And soon the galaxy would see that underestimating Earth was the gravest mistake any civilization could make. The humans did not wait for Zykar's fleet to strike before they began preparing. Commander Elena Martinez and her team worked day and night, coordinating with scientists, engineers, and military leaders around the globe. They didn't have plasma cannons or force shields, but they had something just as powerful: creativity, courage, and a deep understanding of their own world. Satellites were recalibrated to act as early warning systems. Old drones were repurposed, rigged with new sensors and makeshift weapons. Engineers hacked together devices to interfere with the approaching alien ships' communications and navigation systems. Simple tools were turned into clever traps. Every city became a potential stronghold, every building a potential shield. Humans prepared not with arrogance, but with careful calculation and relentless determination. Meanwhile, Zykar's fleet entered Earth's orbit. The massive ships glimmered like stars, casting shadows over the planet below. The general was confident. He had spent weeks planning, and nothing in his calculations suggested that Earth could pose a real threat. "Begin the strike," he ordered, his voice full of certainty. "Show these primitives what power looks like." But humans had already anticipated the first moves. As Zykar's drones began their approach, they encountered unexpected resistance. Satellites, once passive observers of space, suddenly became part of a network that disrupted the drones' targeting systems. Communications were jammed, forcing Zykar's fleet to slow down. His officers were confused. "Why are our systems failing?" one asked. "This is impossible. Earth should not be able to do this." On the surface, humans worked together with astonishing speed. Cities were evacuated where necessary, but more importantly, humans used their knowledge of their environment to their advantage. Asteroids were redirected with careful calculations to create impromptu barriers in orbit. Electromagnetic pulses, crude but effective, temporarily disabled alien drones. Zykar's fleet, once confident, began to encounter delays. The first skirmishes were small but telling. Alien ships were trapped in gravity fields humans had calculated with precision. Drones were lured into electronic nets that disrupted their control systems. Each time Zykar thought he had neutralized the humans, they adapted, responding in ways that defied his predictions. Zykar began to feel frustration he had never known. His fleet was superior in firepower, his strategies perfected on paper, yet humans continued to surprise him. One particularly clever human maneuver involved using old weather satellites to create false radar signals, confusing the alien sensors. Another involved guiding a swarm of drones through the magnetic field of the planet to scramble the invaders' targeting systems. Humans were not strong, but they were relentless. In the Galactic Council chambers, the observers could barely contain their amazement. The insectoid diplomat clicked its mandibles in disbelief. "Do you see this?" it whispered to a neighboring council member. "A species so small, so insignificant, is outsmarting one of the galaxy's finest generals." How is this possible? Zykar's arrogance had blinded him. He had expected resistance, yes, but he had assumed humans would be disorganized and predictable. Instead, their ability to think creatively, to use their world in unexpected ways, was destroying his plans. Ship after ship faced setbacks. Supplies were disrupted. Command chains were confused by unexpected attacks from Earth's surface and space alike. Despite the chaos, humans remained organized. Teams worked tirelessly, using ingenuity to maximize their limited resources. They repaired damaged satellites, redirected energy from power grids to create new defensive systems, and repurposed civilian technology into defensive weapons. Every obstacle Zykar created only made the humans adapt faster. The turning point came when humans discovered a flaw in the alien fleet's design. The ships relied heavily on automated navigation and communication systems that were sophisticated but rigid. By targeting these systems with carefully timed electromagnetic pulses, humans caused widespread confusion. Ships collided or became stranded in orbit. Drones malfunctioned and were drawn into Earth's atmosphere, where they were easily neutralized. Zykar's confidence was collapsing. His fleet, which had seemed invincible, was now a chaotic tangle of disabled vessels and malfunctioning drones. "Impossible!" he shouted to his officers. "They should not be able to do this. They are only humans." On the ground, ordinary humans celebrated small victories. Scientists monitored the effects of their interventions, cheering as alien ships failed to respond. Engineers repaired systems and improvised new methods of attack. Citizens contributed in unexpected ways. Pilots, mechanics, and even ordinary workers found clever ways to aid the defense. Humanity's strength lay not in a single weapon or a single person, but in their collective effort. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. Never before had a primitive species shown such resilience and ingenuity. "They think differently," said one elder member, its voice trembling. "They adapt in ways that cannot be predicted. This is extraordinary." Zykar, desperate now, ordered a full assault on one of the largest cities. The humans had anticipated this as well. They drew the alien ships into a narrow valley, where natural terrain amplified the effects of their makeshift weapons. Drones were trapped and the flagship was forced to maneuver clumsily. One well-timed strike disabled the flagship's main systems, leaving it vulnerable. For the first time, Zykar faced real fear. He realized that he had underestimated humans in a way he could never recover from. His fleet was faltering, his ships were failing, and his enemies were not just surviving. They were outsmarting him at every turn. Commander Elena Martinez coordinated the final phase. Using a combination of improvised weapons and strategic maneuvers, humans disabled Zykar's flagship entirely. The general was forced to retreat, humiliated and furious. His plans of conquest were shattered, not by superior firepower but by creativity, adaptability, and unbreakable human determination. As the fleet withdrew, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Members argued over what they had just witnessed. A floating diplomat from the gaseous world of Eris whispered to its neighbor, "How could a species so primitive be so brilliant? They are not just surviving, they are a force to be reckoned with." Zykar's arrogance had been the greatest mistake of his life. The humans had proven that strength and technology alone were not enough to predict victory. Ingenuity, resilience, and courage could turn the smallest species into a formidable opponent. The Council decided to issue a formal warning to all civilizations. Do not underestimate Earth. Do not underestimate humans. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Cities were repaired, communications restored, and the anomalies in orbit were studied carefully. Most humans remained unaware of the full scope of the threat they had just survived. To them, it had been another strange event, another challenge that required clever thinking and teamwork. They celebrated quietly, proud of what they had accomplished, though they did not fully understand how remarkable it had been. Commander Elena Martinez looked up at the sky, contemplating the future. Humans had faced an enemy they could not even begin to match in power, yet they had survived. They had adapted, improvised, and triumphed, and they would do so again if necessary. Earth had shown the galaxy that humans were not weak, that their ingenuity and determination could rival any civilization in the stars. In the distant chambers of the Galactic Council, members debated the meaning of what they had witnessed. One elder representative, its crystalline body shimmering with thought, said quietly, "The galaxy has underestimated humans for too long. Perhaps it is time to reconsider how we view them. They may yet become a power none of us can ignore." Zykar returned to his homeworld, defeated and humiliated. He had learned a lesson the hard way. Never assume that size, technology, or firepower alone could guarantee victory. The humans had proved that even a seemingly insignificant species could change the course of events with cleverness, courage, and determination. Earth, meanwhile, continued its quiet, unassuming life. People laughed, worked, and dreamed, unaware that they had faced one of the greatest dangers imaginable, and survived. The planet had shown the universe that humans were not merely fragile creatures on a small blue world. They were innovators, problem solvers, and survivors. They were capable of brilliance, even in the face of overwhelming odds. And the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again.